AVAIYA has changed my life.
AVAIYA has made me the woman I am today.
AVAIYA is my home.
AVAIYA is personal freedom.
AVAIYA is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about AVAIYA.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, AVAIYA, for appearing in my inbox.
What Ike Allen and Andy Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.
Hello, AVAIYA family. I'm Andy Anderson. My partner, Ike Allen, and I are teachers, mentors, and the co-owners of AVAIYA University. AVAIYA is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive resources. Thank you so much for joining us. Our fellow teacher, Phaedra Antioco, is with us today. Phaedra is a somatic experiencing practitioner, an occupational therapist, pain and trauma coach, and movement educator with over 22 years of experience. She teaches her clients to overcome the challenges of physical and emotional pain, trauma, and stress, and even a life that just doesn't seem to be working. Phaedra is the go-to expert after you've tried everything else on your healing journey. Looking for the root cause of pain, Phaedra investigates the hidden traumatic events that may be preventing a healthy lifestyle as she teaches her clients how to reset their nervous systems. Welcome to AVAIYA, Phaedra.
It is so great to be here. I love your work. I love the topics that you come up with and all the good you're doing in the world to help us human beings.
Us human beings. I love it. Well, we're so happy to have you. And thank you so much for doing this with us today. We were talking before we started about how we've dialogued back and forth over the years, and it's fun to actually get to meet you in person on Zoom.
Yes, because we're all doing similar work. It's just a different way to get it, to get a person into their body, coming home, to then be able to live the life that they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And life goes up and down, but I always say the storm does pass. Mm-hmm. And how's your nervous system handling it when you're in it?
Yeah. So let's dive a little deeper into that. And first, I'm curious, what's your story? I know you have a story, as we all do, about overcoming things like pain and trauma. So could you share about that first?
Yeah, I seem to have a pattern that I like to hurt myself. I don't know, it just happens. So I'm really good at understanding pain, but both physical pain, yes, and emotional pain. And I find that emotional pain is usually under the physical pain. That's the bottom line. So I really help and ask questions. A lot of practitioners aren't asking, and primarily because I've been there. And my biggest trauma, my biggest pain, physical and emotional, was about 14 years ago in 2008. I was driving home from work and I never made it. Instead, I woke up from a coma and my world had changed. Now, mind you, I'm an occupational therapist. I treat brain injury. I'm not supposed to have one. So I had a brain injury and I woke up and I remember the first time I mentally learned and remembered. And then someone said, don't get out of bed or you'll have a spinal cord injury. Well, I knew what that was. So of course I froze. And it wasn't until I worked with Peter Levine in a training for an hour and a half on stage, going through the eye of the needle, which is his near-death training, that I was able to release my back pain that I had been holding about 80%. It went down 80% because of something someone told to me when I was in an altered state. I froze. And so it wasn't until getting in touch with that. And that's where I have learned that trauma can get trapped in the body. It can be, you had a sledding accident as a kid and you ran into a tree and you're 50 years old and it's showing up as a neck pain or a shoulder pain. I see it all the time. So I go in and I look at a person's life as an occupational therapist and look at what part of their job being human is off, is not working. And that's why I went into study somatic experiencing, because I look at, well, why do some people get better? They have maybe a couple therapy sessions, emotional pain goes away, or their physical pain goes away. And those are typically the people who've had really safe, comforting childhoods, less adverse reactions, like childhood experiences, like in the ACE study. So I found that those who had a nice, safe home tended to rebound better, where those who had more of the childhood neglect and the traumas and their nervous systems were dysregulated have a harder time really thriving and working through the challenges of physical and emotional pain, whether divorce, loss of a job, financial stress, all of that gets held in the body. So we all need to just pause, get present, and like catch up. It's like there's so much happening around us, and we get out of our bodies, we get in our head and be busy all the time. And then our body stops us and screams.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
So-
we need to look at.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Dr. Levine, obviously big fan. We do a lot of work with his organization and in our events. And I love that you bring the nervous system into this. And I'm really curious, since that's a big part of what you do. So like, how does the nervous system tie into chronic pain? And I guess, where does trauma come into that equation also?
Right. So gosh, I could go a million avenues with this, and I really want your listeners to get this. But first, I'm just going to show you a picture, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you look at me, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm vibrant. Yes. And though, unfortunately, this lives inside me. So this is me in a coma on a ventilator and a full body brace. So that's where I learned. I don't remember the accident, but it was a high-speed accident, but my body does. And it comes in the form of bracing. So a simple exercise we can do together and with your listeners is simply, and this is going to be hard for some people, and it might be a struggle, because you might be in your head, you might have the TV on, the background on, lots happening, and you're trying to tune in to this interview, but just pause, just like, hey, go inside, slow down a little bit, and just see, like, just check your toes. Say hi to them. See if you can bring your awareness to both feet at the same time. Might be a little tricky. And noticing how I'm like slowing it way down, Andy, and you just took a nice breath. It's that co-regulation. So we're co-regulating together to help get you in your body. And sometimes that might make that emotional and physical pain bigger. And when I say pain today, I want you just to think physical and emotional, because it's all tied in. But notice your toes, and notice if there's a slight curl in them, if they're kind of bracing, and just be aware of it. Oh, interesting. Oh. And I'm going to ask you, where else in your body are you bracing? And see if you can just take the brakes off and just soften a little more. And Andy, did you feel any bracing?
Yeah, a little bit in my upper shoulder back area.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And then I could say, hey, have you had any whiplashes? Have you had any traumas? You know,
One car accident ever. I wasn't diagnosed with whiplash, but I was definitely sore for about a week or so.
yeah. Do you remember that and that accident that happened? Do you have a good memory of it?
I do.
Yeah. And when you think about that moment, does any bracing happen? Like kind of just, and again, this takes such awareness of the body. And just
Yeah,
notice
definitely more like a protective kind of like hunching over kind of experience, because the car, I guess where it hit on this side. So I kind of like hunched over to my opposite side to, get away from it.
And it could be, well, which side do you have more pain on? It's about what happened that day in that accident, and were you on your way to college and you had a big exam that was so important, and then your boyfriend broke up with you all in the same time. These events could be coupled. So we need to look at, what is our trauma timeline? What are all the things we've had in our lives that maybe didn't go our way? Because we talked about, what storms have you had? And what impact is it still being held on into your body? So that's the first thing, is, what is my trauma? We have to explore and release past traumas. Because I've had people who they've been coming to me. I do manual therapy. I do a form of myofascial release, cranial sacral, as well as the somatic experiencing. So the somatic experiencing helps people get out of their head and go into their body so they can feel the bracing patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first step. So if they're on my table or we work virtually, I get them into those positions and we feel for once the trauma, because that energy gets trapped and then it's tightens our muscles. So our nervous system then is always like on guard. Something's happening. We could be stuck in fight or flight. We can be stuck in freeze. Trauma was so bad that you shut down, that you were in a marriage for 35 years and it was just too much. And now you're trying to find your way. So I asked, when was the last time you felt safe? And what does safety feel like? And that's the main thing, is when we feel safe, what happens? We relax. Mm-hmm. We can really digest our food and enjoy a meal. Our blood pressure gets regulated. You ever run late to a doctor and they check your blood pressure and you're high all of a sudden, mm-hmm. right? Well, you're clamping down. Your nervous system's ready to go, running to save you, get you to the appointment on time. You're bracing and clenching, driving there like a maniac to get there. It's like, well, let's pause and see those clenching and those bracings, because for all the traumas we've had, there could be little bits and pieces of that trapped in the fascial system, the connective system of the body.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. And
stuff, right? This is like,
yeah.
Wow.
I love that you asked also just like, what does safety feel like? Because I think for so many people who have struggled with trauma and then it's linking over to their, pain today, that's such a huge question, because how many of us can relate to not feeling safe because of whatever happened or whatever many things happened over the years. And that's, yeah. Could you share a little bit more about like the kinds of challenges your clients have had, and like what different kinds of pain do you help people through? How have you helped them through the different pains of life?
You name it. So the first part of the session is a lot of questioning. I call it dialoguing and getting history. For example, yesterday I worked with someone who just was at a holiday function, a family function, and they were told a secret by someone that they shouldn't have been told. And they had to hold on to this secret. It's very unfair for this secret to be told. And she comes in and she's bracing and she's clenching. And we had just done so much work. She was pain-free, living high on life, great. And then being exposed to a family member that's very triggering. So we need to identify, our body is like an antenna, and we just get more chaos in there we can't really feel. So we have to get into our bodies and notice that it is chaotic and start to clear it out. So we have to look at what's not working in our lives. And physical therapists are really good at dealing with the body and the body mechanics, but occupational therapists have more of the psych background, the psychology background, because people used to be institutionalized when they were considered crazy and they would be thrown in jail or just put away. And we occupational therapists give them purpose. So we need to find a purpose. So if we're, in these family dynamics or in a marriage or relationship, even a work situation that you don't feel safe, it's going to make you tighten. It's going to make you brace and be uncomfortable. And then you start to feel the physical pain. So we have to look at what are those factors in your life that aren't working. And again, I just can't emphasize enough these bracing patterns. And the first thing is awareness to know that you have them, right? So a lot of times it is like, I just don't feel safe. I'm anxious, Phaedra. I can't be creative. Everyone tells me this. I can't get my house sorted. I can't get my house clean. And they get stuck in freeze. So the first thing is to shine the light on the problem. What's not working in your life? And we have to have a hard look at that and make a decision. And sometimes that's a hard decision to make. And I say, well, if you make a decision, you'll either succeed, or if you fail, you'll at least learn something. And this is the school of life. So how is your life and your occupation as a human being impacted by stress, by emotional pain, by physical pain? And you can say, my knee, my back hurts. But what is it really? Is it lying there next to a person in a relationship where you don't feel safe and you're clenching? I'm telling you, so many people are clenching their jaw and they don't even realize it. And when you clench your jaw, it pulls down to your pelvic floor and your pelvis and your low back. So when that client came to me yesterday and she had just been with her family and she was told a secret that she cannot tell a blood member of her family, like her blood, she couldn't even tell her own. Everything tightened up again. And it's simple. One thought could even tighten us up. So we need to find that support. So I offer co-regulation, and I offer to help people dig out and really take a hard look at what's not working in your life, because your brain gets wired to all the pain and all that's wrong. And it's just this vicious cycle. And you can listen to all the Abraham Hicks and positive affirmations you want, but if your nervous system is so wired and it's like, you can't digest your food, you have IBS, all of those health problems still. So if the nervous system isn't safe, isn't right, then our health goes into decline. And then we start to tighten up and we get pain.
Gotcha.
So it's just, each person is an individual mystery. None of us are alike. But don't we, as people healing, as people with depression or emotional pain, anxiety, don't we just want caring people in our lives, safe people?
Yeah.
So having a safe practitioner, a safe doctor, a safe therapist, a safe acupuncturist, a safe chiropractor, someone that listens to you, because there's also medical trauma. And I see that a lot, whether you're a mom who has your doula set, you're going to do the home birth, and then an emergency C-section is needed. That's going to affect you. It's going to affect your baby's body. That's the first trauma in the world. And then you had this expectation of a baby being born vaginally and naturally, and now you have a wound to heal. So it's all of those things. I help renegotiate the traumas, and I can work on C-section scars or surgery scars that maybe there was a trauma, the doctor didn't help them feel safe, and I guide them through, and that muscle relaxes under my hand. Relaxes. So we have to clear that out. All of that starts to add and weigh in on our shoulders, carry in our backs, in our pain, shoulder pain, carrying too much, taking on too much. I see a lot of codependency, a lot of energy drains, batteries being drained by not even having the energy to say no.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you see it all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You mentioned codependency, and that's a huge thing for people, and people who have the personalities and the tendencies that they just want to give and give and give and never take care of themselves, or it's just so challenging to take a step back and do something for themselves, and how absolutely that can affect their bodies. And you mentioned stress also, and we've been kind of talking about this for a while, but what does stress do as it relates to health challenges and chronic pain? How does being in stress, it's not good for us, we all know that, but why is it so bad when it comes to creating health issues?
Right. Absolutely. So I think I would just really love if I could do a screen share.
Yeah, go for it.
And I am going to share this. So we just have to have you enable me to screen share.
Yeah. Hang on one second.
And this is going to be worth it. This is one of my favorite programs to show, because I take for granted anatomy because I love studying the human body. And a lot of people like to hear health summits and learn and take supplements and all of that. But if you really think about what you're putting into your body at a cellular level, and that could be, think about if you have a neighbor that you don't like, and you drive home and you drive by their house every day, are you cringing, right? What can you do to help you handle this stress in this situation? Can I gather enough strength and courage to have that conversation with them and share my feelings, or I'm too scared? Do I skirt around? Do I just suck it up and cringe every time? You just have to ask yourself these things. How is that me driving by my neighbor that I'm upset with going to affect my body? We literally just have to, first thing, it's so easy, but it's hard, is to get out of our heads and start going in and letting that shift. And with codependency, it's so easy, isn't it, to give to everybody else? When I work with clients, it's wonderful. I get out of my stuff. I get to help somebody else. It's purpose. It's meaningful, right? So what can you do to help yourself to clear that junk out? Because that is what is causing your physical and emotional pain.
Absolutely.
Your nervous system gets trapped. So
I think it should be set now for you to be able to share.
Yeah. So here we go. Look at this beautiful body here. Okay. I just want to share with you, this is what's underneath your skin. Okay. And if I literally just, if we go in, if you can see all the heart, all the things that you have going on in there. That's what we need to address when we have this neighbor we don't like, or we're in a job we don't like, and we're sitting at the computer and dreading it, but we're doing it because we need to pay the bills and just suck it up and tolerate a job. All of this underneath your skin is having a hard time. It can't really function. And this is not being cooperative right now. So I want to show you more. And maybe if they just changed everything. So I'm going to watch this. I'm going to take all the muscles off. Okay. Yeah. So look at your lungs. Are you breathing? Look at your cranial nerves. And that's another thing where we could just put in vagus nerve, and it's going to tell me left or right. We have 2 of them. And I'm going to show it to you. Okay. So this is that nice long vagus nerve. And what it's doing is it's connecting in, it's with your jugular, it's with your lymph nodes, if you see all these words right here. And we really need to pay attention to when we're clenching our jaw, our skull is tightening down and putting pressure on our brain. Our brain is the control center of our body, and we are under pressure. So we have to first go in somatically and check out the pressures in our body, the bracing patterns, and go in and be mindful with them. You can call a friend, you can put a hand on your chest, but I just want you to see that when you are stressed, your cranial nerves, your circulatory system, your blood pressure is going up. Why? Look at your lungs. All of that is being impacted. Your kidneys, all of this, look at all of this is under there. Your thyroid health, your hormone health. So I just want to paint this picture to empower you to start going in and making the changes to change those things in your life. And I know that they're really hard to do. They really, really are. But with the right coach, the right therapist, the right practitioner, the right intention from you, like, when is enough enough? Then you start making the changes, because the suffering becomes too great. But again, just know that underneath this is your soul, is your spirit, is your thriving self. But life can kind of dull us when we have a lot of trauma.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was really helpful to really get present to what's underneath our skin, because I'm guessing a lot of people aren't necessarily thinking about that all the time if they're right in a stressed state or heightened nervous system or whatever, what's actually happening inside and how important it is for us to take care of that inside. So you've kind of weaved trauma throughout this whole conversation, but what role does trauma play in pain? Like, how actually is it connected? You know, you mentioned ACEs studies and, you know, how people who have had childhood trauma tend to have harder, right, more difficult health challenges later in life. Like, why does that work that way?
You know, it's our brain wiring, and I really think it's something greater than ourselves. And there's not a lot of research, but it's quantum physics. And I'm a John Barnes myofascial release practitioner, and he taught us, it's like most of the research was done on dead bodies. There's no life force in there. So that's where our nervous system is. This is greater than ourselves. You know, those synchronicities of, I'll have a patient, they'll be on my table thinking about their daughter, and they have an estranged relationship. We clear out their body, and then their daughter calls 2 days later. I don't know the answers, but it is something greater than ourselves. Why did I almost die that day, but I didn't, and I survived? And why did a girl the same week after in the same vehicle die? So these are like my questions, and it's like, it's a force greater than ourselves, but there is tissue memory. There are bracing patterns that come in, and a force, like in my car accident, I don't remember it, but my body does feel the tightness in the chest. That gasp is still stuck in there. And that's what PTSD is, post-traumatic stress disorder, where it's so much to the nervous system, the person's system, over and over and repeated. That's all the brain gets wired to.
Right.
And I have resilience because of my childhood growing up with a single mom and a father who was a drug addict and overcoming all that. So I'm a pusher. I'm a fighter. I got through the accident and I came out ahead. I had the severe brain injury and you wouldn't know it, but that was where the childhood set my nervous system to be a fighter. My mother's a fighter. That's where I get it from. So that's important to look at. But also when we when we fall or we hurt ourselves, especially if, like, say it's a teenager and they're on she's a volleyball player and she gets slammed, and you're a teenager, you're worried about what everyone thinks. Oh, I got to look good. I got to suck it. I'm fine. I'm fine. Well, I'm fine. And then this bracing pattern happens, and then you have neck pain at 40. And I see it. So I ask the questions and then I dig. And so just the other day, I mean, I literally had 3 fall. Like I bumped myself. I was at a park with my dog and friends. And I said, oh, watch my dog go up the slide. And boom, I walked into a pole. And I was embarrassed. And I saw like 5 people right there. And they're like, are you okay? Should we call the ambulance? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm a trauma therapist. I just need to feel it. So when you hit yourself, or Andy, if you think about your car accident and the pain after for a week, you know, if anyone just thinks of a time they fell down the stairs and couldn't sit, tailbone injuries are a big one. You could, for back pain, is tailbone injury. So I stayed there and I felt the bracing, and it's like, oh my God, am I going to die? Did I break something? Did I get a head injury? Am I going to oh wait, I'm safe. And I feel, and you see how my shoulders are up to my ears. Okay. And I just soften. Same thing. I was walking in a hole. I tripped in a hole and I nearly sprained my leg. I would have sprained it. I had a bruise the next day, but I paused. I didn't care what anyone's around me. I sat there, and that clenching, once you can let that go. But I think what's happening probably for a lot of our listeners is over time, there's just so much piling on. I mean, just this year alone, I had so much stuff happen. And our nervous system can't handle it. It goes AWOL. It's on the fritz. So here's my video, my little diagram. I mean, it's very primitive, but we have our nervous system, our happy place. We're good. We can cook dinner. We can read a magazine, maybe go to exercise, go for a walk. But if you have a trauma come in, it could either send you up to you're stuck on high, you're anxious, you're codependent, you're busy all the time. It's so much easier to do for everyone else than to go in and look at me. Or you can shut down and want to hide from the world. So trauma comes in to our nervous system. And I showed you the video of how it connects to all of our body. And we're just on fire, running for our lives in chaos. Yeah. And that's what pain is. That's fascial restrictions. That's hardening. That's getting a scar that you never chose to have. That's stronger and building up, and the regrets. Like, I got to admit, at 44 years old, after this, I do have a sense of broken. I feel broken and I have to work on it all the time. But it is what it is. And I have awareness of it, and I empower myself with the knowledge. But the first thing is your body's an antenna. And if you have to make a decision about a relationship, if you have to make a decision about a job, whatever those things are that are hurting you, I want you to check inside. And if you clench, it's probably a no. It's learning to trust yourself too. And if it's a yes, a hell yes, that's where it's opening, it's expansive. So your body is, whether you call it intuition or energy, everyone has a different way. I look at it from the nervous system, and I'm either overstimulated, overactive, in sympathetic fight or flight, or I could be shut down. Which state are you in? Or are you in a safe, happy flow? God bless you. You know, maybe you had a great childhood upbringing, and maybe you married poorly and you were in a 25-year marriage with a narcissist, and you're heavy and you hurt and you feel like you can't go on. And I want to give you hope. And this might make you cry, but it's like, when was the last time you felt safe? Where you really, really felt safe in all of your body, in your breath, in your heart, in your chest, in your stomach. Is your stomach okay? Do you feel all right? Or is it clenching? Are you starting to get loose stool and IBS? Those are things to think about, Andy.
Thank you. Oh, I love it. Bringing it back to safety. I think that's such an important theme that you know, a lot of people might not look at, and especially as it relates to chronic pain. Well, wait, when is the last time I felt safe? That is a really beautiful inquisition. So I appreciate that.
That's like chronic stress, chronic pain, chronic emotional pain. Like I got to tell you, this last year, I've had 2 leaks in my home. I lost my kitchen for 3 months. I lost my bedroom for 3 months. So that's a total of 6 months. And it's like, I literally couldn't, I thought I had a curse on me. I was like, all this bad stuff has to happen, but I had to get help. I had to get the right practitioner to do the work on me and give me the medicine that I give everybody else. So what are you giving codependently that you can then start to give to you? Because you've either you're acting out of your adult self, your angry teenager, or your adult self. And I want everyone to get into their adult self. And that is that adult self that's strong, that's capable, that's competent. And that's your higher self. Right. And that's that all knowing that you can do this. You can change that job. You can change that relationship. And I bring these up because these are the big ones. These are the big everyday things, you know, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's not having enough friends or feeling isolated. Those are things that we need to address and then have the courage to change. But how can we do it if we don't feel safe?
Right.
Right. Because think about a time where you were actually very terrified. You're in here, you're running for your life. How could you be creative and simply draw a picture? Right. You know, maybe I can encourage people tonight, just get some crayons or some markers and just draw a little picture. Anything, a little dog, a picture of yourself, getting in touch with that creative side, but get the perfectionist out. It's not going to be perfect, but like nurture that inner child. What does that mean? Is your child scared inside? Can that part of you, that your higher self, that all knowing, that competent self, go in and take her, that little girl who's scared? You know, I did this recently. I was walking into a situation. I had to make a hard decision in a relationship, and I knew it was best for me to end it, but my little girl didn't want it to. So I had to say, okay, I see you. I feel you. I hear you in there, but I can't feel this way anymore. And I need my adult self to take over. So we're going to do this. Is there anything you need from me right now, little girl? I love you. And just tell me how I can love you more. But just knowing that not all of you is consumed in the emotional stress pain. Not all of you is consumed in the physical pain. There's a way to get out of it. But you have to look at what's not working in your life, explore and release your past traumas. You have to rewire your brain. It's not all of you that's in pain right now. Even if it's just your little toe, please feel that. When you're hurting and your back is screaming, feel where it hurts less. Feel the edges of the pain. Then feel where you feel safe or maybe okay. That alone will help your nervous system relax your muscles to then relax your bones. So you're not a pressure cooker, stressed out and irritable, because remember what's under your skin. You're going to affect your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your hormones. I learned this the hard way. Cortisol goes up and it releases all this cortisol, and then your progesterone doesn't know where to land. Your hormone receptors all get out of whack. And then we become estrogen dominant or low testosterone and have no energy. So it's all a vicious cycle of life, a circle of life that we have to attend to. But even if I could just get your listeners to realize that past traumas and that 25-year marriage that was so painful that you couldn't wait to get out of, there's a radio station playing of that bracing. It could be there. And I help people uncover that. We take out the garbage and a dump truck comes and you take those big black bags stuffed with all your garbage and you throw it in the dump truck and it goes away. And you can make a difference. And in the future, your future self could really change, right? There's a reason the rear view mirror is smaller. We've got so much ahead, but we don't know it until we feel safe and we can believe again, right?
Beautiful. Thank you. I love, like, you just have such a great way of bringing like the whole person into perspective, right? Not just one little area or this little pain or whatever, but just like everything, our past experiences, emotional, physical, everything. So I appreciate
Cognitive, cognitive, hormonal. I mean, I've been on my journey and I had to watch what I eat. I was emotionally eating. I mean, as a child, we had an amazing ice cream store across the street. You guys can relate, I'm sure. I got to go. When I was sad, my parents give me my $1 and I got ice cream for $1. Wow, back in the day. But now when I get sad, I want ice cream. Like those are the wiring that was put in me as a child. And it's still like, I am 44 and I am turning more and more like my mother. Like it is like, it's a reality. So our brain wiring happens as a child with the environment that we have. Yes, there's nature and what we're born with in our genetics, but chances are if you're watching the Codependent Summit or the Chronic Pain Summit, there has been trauma in your life and that gets trapped in your body like a hologram. The accident, Andy, with the car, for me, it was being strangled by the seatbelt. I always just feel pressure here. I do. And I've never had anxiety until after where I just feel a little, and that's that high impact. The energy goes in and it doesn't dissipate unless you do what I say, where you feel it. Like I hit my head and I waited because your first thought is, am I safe? Am I alive? Am I dead? And it was that falling on my 40th birthday down my stairs that led me to 4 days in the hospital. But when I fell and I knew somatic experiencing, I allowed myself to feel the fear that I'm trapped on the floor and I can't get up. I literally had 4 men, the paramedics had to carry me out. But I got done with the hospital in 4 days and then I was back to work. I got out on a Saturday, I was back to work treating patients on a Tuesday. So if you do this and touch with the bracing patterns, it will soften it. The energy will clear out of that. And then co-regulation, get a good friend, get support, get a coach or a therapist, someone that you really trust. Get a dog. I can show you. This is Roy.
Yeah.
This is
have to see Roy. Yay.
Hi, Roy. This is
Roy.
my love. And he's my biggest co-regulator. He's my weighted blanket. He's my support. I literally take him everywhere. If he wants to he goes and gets his nails done. I almost took him to a rock concert. I thought it might be too loud for him, but he's my co-regulator and I don't care what people think of me. And my brother gets embarrassed when I take him in a restaurant, but he feels so safe to me. And so find your co-regulators, best friend, going to a codependency anonymous meeting, talking about your problems, but just better out than in. Don't hold it in.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Roy in. If Bowie was in the room right now, I would grab him and show him to everyone also.
Gotta love our dogs. We do.
Absolutely.
So animals and, even just watching funny puppy videos on YouTube. If you do TikTok, funny animal videos, finding that pleasure, getting out of the brain being so miserable, you guys. And if you can simply just feel whether it's your big toe doesn't hurt in that moment, wire it out. Because if you keep thinking about it, it's only going to make you tighter. Your nervous system's only going to clench and brace. And that is what's holding your pain, carrying your pain.
So let's move on to your gift because we are running low on time. And I know you have a free gift for everybody as well as I think some sessions with you. And there's a couple buttons below that link over to your site. So what do you have for us?
Well, I definitely, you guys say, oh, I'm going to get into my body. Phaedra says I'm going to work in my body, but it's hard. Point blank. If I say feel both feet at the same time and it's like glitchy, then you need help. So I created this meditation just to help you get deep in your body, feeling in your heart, feeling in your chest, feeling in your lungs. Do it. We get so inundated with all these freebies, but really do this and look at yourself before you do the activity of the meditation and then after. And notice the change. I want you to start noticing your shifts because you are changing, you are growing. And just by listening to this series, you are making a difference in your life. You're doing the work.
Beautiful. Thank you. And if someone wanted to do a session with you, what does that look like?
Well, I do work virtually and I do work hands-on in my office here in Phoenix. I do treatment intensives, which include pelvic floor treatment, which is amazing. We didn't touch much upon that, but that's treating the pelvic floor and the lower part of the nervous system to help free it. But I also work as a coach online with somatic experiencing and occupational therapists. We do pull the whole person in, and that's what I do in my coaching. So people can work with me and just look at, we got to figure out what's not working in your life and how can we get you to shift. And people usually, like my last client just started all over, and then by the end, she's just happy and feeling safe. So if I help people feel safe and that it lasts in their body so you can live the life you want.
Awesome. Thank you, Phaedra. And again, the links are below for that, everyone. Do you have any last insights before we wrap up?
Just know that the clouds are there sometimes and the storm is there, but it always passes, doesn't it? And you're going to get through this. And whether, reach out to me, you can check out some of my stuff. I love to give because I've been there. And if I can be pain-free, anyone can, you guys. I have a broken bone in my leg still, and I can still hike 5 miles. But it's that inner spirit. It's my nervous system and that resiliency. Enough is enough. I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm going to get better. And find the right people to work with. If you don't like your doctor, please fire them. If your doctor doesn't make you feel safe, if your therapist doesn't make you feel safe, or anyone, please fire them. And love yourself enough to protect yourself.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
An amazing conversation. I so appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, AVAIYA students watching or listening right now, for showing up for yourself. It takes a lot just to be here, just to have the courage to be like, okay, I need to take a look at this in my life and figure out what to do. So thanks for being there for yourself and with us today. And we will see you all again very soon. Take care. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this latest class with Phaedra Antioco. We talked about many, many different things as it relates to pain. We talked about emotional pain. We talked about physical body pain. We talked about what's underneath your skin and being present to really the magic and amazing miracle that your body is, and all of the things that it's constantly doing to keep you safe, to keep you healthy, all running in the background of our lives, and just really getting present to that and how well it's taking care of us in the ways that it is. I think it was just really important that we talked about the connection between trauma and chronic pain. This is a topic that comes up more and more these days. If you experienced childhood trauma, and there's that link between childhood trauma potentially relating to more propensity towards chronic illness or chronic pain, that might be you, or perhaps you've had trauma later in life, or both. And these things have impacted how you feel today. I really liked that we talked about really just kind of the simplicity of, if you've had an injury or a trauma in your life, that you might be bracing. Maybe bracing for you looks like you're hunching over in your back, or bringing your shoulders up, or maybe you're tightening your jaw, or maybe even your tongue is like plastered to the roof of your mouth. All these different ways that we can brace in our bodies that are going to lead to pain in those areas or other areas of your body. So just becoming aware of that and trying to trace those things back to different experiences in your life. So I hope that you found this helpful and helped you on your journey of conquering chronic pain. And we will see you again very soon. Take care.
AVAIYA has changed my life.
AVAIYA has made me the woman I am today.
AVAIYA is my home.
AVAIYA is personal freedom.
AVAIYA is the reason my life continuously improves.
Let everyone in your life know about AVAIYA.
Everyone needs to know about this amazing company.
Thank you, AVAIYA, for appearing in my inbox.
What Ike Allen and Andy Anderson have created at AVAIYA is what the world needs.